Can you believe it's already 2022 and the iPhone 11 Pro Max is already outdated? In today's video, we're comparing the iPhone 11 Pro Max and the iPhone 12 Pro Max to help us decide which is the best value to buy in 2022. We're going to start by looking at the similarities and differences between the two phones, and then I'm going to finish by explaining what does it all mean, how much value are we getting from each iPhone, which one is the best one to buy. Let's start with the design. Straight away you notice the fresh new design of the iPhone 12. It has these squared off bezels which remind me of the iPhone 4. The iPhone 12 is also slightly thicker than the iPhone 11. In the hand, both of these have a very premium feel. Like, you can tell that this is an iPhone and no less a Pro iPhone. It feels really nice, it feels really heavy, and it feels quite thick, nice and grippy to hold. I'd say that the iPhone 11 Pro Max is a little bit easier to hold thanks to its rounded corners, whereas these squared corners kind of ever so slightly dig into your hand. But nonetheless, they both feel very premium. At the end of the day, I don't think feel in the hand really matters that much if you're gonna stick your iPhone in a case. If you're gonna rock it naked though, I think this feels much nicer in the hand. And this feels good. The squared off corners just don't feel as comfortable to hold as the rounded corners do. Something you might not notice straight away is that the iPhone 12 Pro Max has slightly slimmer bezels around the edges. Thanks to those slimmer bezels, you get a larger display. You get a 6.7-inch display on the 12 Pro Max versus a 6.5-inch display on the 11 Pro Max. Both of these devices have a Super Retina XDR display with 800 nits of usable brightness. I don't think you can fault the quality of these displays. They look so nice and so crisp, so sharp. I really like both of them. You'll also notice that the notch size across these devices are also the same. That being said, they're both really huge displays, and I didn't notice that the extra 0.2 inches you get with the 12 Pro Max has a significant impact on my day-to-day usage of the device. I think they're both really big, really nice, really good to use, but I wouldn't choose the 12 Pro Max just because it had an extra 0.2 inches. So displays out the way, that brings us onto the cameras. You still have the standard lens, the telephoto lens, and the ultra-wide lens on both these devices. The difference being this protrudes slightly more because this camera system has a slightly lower f-stop number. That means you have a wider aperture and you have much brighter photos. I would say much brighter photos is a bit of a stretch, but nonetheless, it is a slightly better camera system to use. Where things get really interesting is that the iPhone 12 Pro Max comes with something called ProRAW. ProRAW is also available on the iPhone 13s. It's a file format that encodes more data, and it means that when you come to edit your photos or videos afterwards, you have more creative control in the editing program that you use. I don't think this is really gonna apply to most everyday users, but perhaps if you use social media quite a lot, you might benefit from using ProRAW. Or of course, if you're a content creator. That brings us onto the tech specs. Let's take a sneak peek under the hood of these devices. It's the things you don't see where it gets more exciting. First things first, there's a different chip in both these devices. The 11 Pro Max uses the A13 Bionic, and the 12 Pro Max uses something called the A14 Bionic, and that's just a beefed up version of the A13. Now this is so fast, I never felt like I actually needed more performance from my device. I've been rocking the 11 Pro Max for the last year and a half, and I've never felt it was too slow to do the activities it needed to do. It handled everything so easily and it never choked. On top of this new chip on the 12 Pro Max, it also comes with 6 GB of RAM. So I think the 12 Pro Max is great for power users. If you're someone that uses a lot of apps at one time, or maybe very CPU intensive apps, then the 12 Pro Max is gonna handle things such as gaming and editing really, really well. Next up, we have the battery. Both these devices last for up to 20 hours. The capacity is exactly the same. The power consumption is more or less the same as well. So you're gonna get the same amount of energy use from the device. One thing to consider is the battery health, of course. That's gonna have a big impact on whether your iPhone lasts for up to 20 hours or doesn't. The iPhone 12 Pro comes with something called MagSafe. MagSafe is Apple's take on wireless charging, and it can fast charge an iPhone to 50% in 30 minutes. At the same time, MagSafe also allows you to have compatibility with a whole host of other cases, or battery packs, or wallets, and all kinds of other accessories you can stick on the back of your iPhone. The iPhone 11 Pro comes with normal charging, and this is still great, but it doesn't click and hold into place in the same way that the MagSafe does, so that it's always aligned and it's got the perfect contact with the wireless charging point. In this department, I definitely think MagSafe wins. Both these devices are IP68 water resistant. Software-wise, this is almost exactly the same experience, except with the 12 Pro Max, you get some settings in the camera app that you can fiddle with, such as ProRAW being one of them, and a few others. Something you get on the 12 Pro that you don't get on the 11 Pro is 5G. In my opinion, I think that the 12 Pro is more future-proof because it has 5G. Coincidentally, I have signed up to a data plan which includes 5G, so I took my SIM out of my 11 Pro, upgraded to my 12 Pro, and found that I could benefit from the faster speeds. In terms of storage, the baseline iPhone 11 Pro comes with 64 GB, and the baseline 12 Pro comes with 128 GB. I think it's because of the ProRAW files in the camera is the reason they upgraded the storage, so you don't fill up your internal storage so quickly. So at £400, the iPhone 11 Pro Max represents a lot of bang for your buck. It's such a powerful mobile phone that keeps up with everything you need it to do. It takes phenomenal footage and it doesn't look out of place in 2022 in my opinion. It's still got 3 cameras and it's still a Face ID iPhone. So I don't think you can go wrong with this. On the other hand, at £613, the iPhone 12 Pro Max represents a very future-proofed iPhone. You don't just get a marginal bump in screen size, storage and cameras, you also get a fresh new design which neatly falls in line with the design language that Apple was taking their new products in. Just look at the iPhone for example and the new MacBook Pros, they all have these squared off bezels. Of course, not to forget, you'll also get MagSafe and 5G with the 12 Pro. Whether it's worth spending the extra £215 or so really depends on the individual and their preferences. So the first thing to consider is that a new iPhone comes out every year and the older iPhones follow a very classic depreciation curve. Consider how long you'll keep your iPhone for. Are you the kind of person that's gonna buy an iPhone and use it till it dies? Or are you the kind of person who likes to upgrade regularly? In my experience from buying and selling iPhones for the last 3 years, I used to do this as a part-time job during uni. I would say that the iPhone 12 Pro Max is gonna depreciate faster than the 11 Pro Max by virtue of being a newer device. Also at the same time, I feel like the 11 Pro Max has really depreciated a lot from its original asking price. Apple were asking for almost 4 figures for this phone once upon a time, and now you can pick it up for pretty cheap, relatively speaking. The second thing to consider is that if you decide to buy these phones refurbished, which chances are you're quite likely to buy them that way, then it's worth checking the battery health on both of these devices. An iPhone with poor battery health is more likely to fail sooner than an iPhone with a newer, less abused battery. If you want to resell your iPhone in the future, if you buy an iPhone with a really strong battery and you look after that battery, when it comes to reselling it, your eventual buyer is going to look at the iPhone, they're going to see it's got a decent battery health that hasn't been abused, and hopefully they're more likely to pay a higher price for your device. So I think you should upgrade to the 12 Pro Max if you value the new design. I don't think this new design is going to feel outdated very quickly in the same way that the 11 Pro Max has. Having said that, the new iPhone 14s are going to come out at some point, and who knows if they're going to change the design language again or change the notch size. You just don't know. But the new design is super nice on the 12 Pro Max, and if you value that, it might be worth paying the extra money if you can afford it. Or if you value having better cameras. I'm someone who takes lots of photos and videos. I'm someone who would benefit from using the better cameras, especially the Pro RAW editing capability. You should also consider upgrading if you have a 5G data plan. It's a shame to let that 5G data plan go to waste if your phone isn't even capable of doing it. Having said that, consider if you live or work in an area that has suitable 5G coverage, there's no point upgrading for 5G to find that you haven't got very good coverage, so you're not getting it, or the coverage you are getting isn't very quick, or it's just similar to 4G. Who knows how revolutionary the new iPhone is going to be in late 2022. Until then, I think that the 11 Pro Max, I haven't really spoken about this much in my conclusion, I think the 11 Pro Max is such a good buy. I wouldn't hesitate to recommend it to people. For £350, £400, so much phone for that money. You're getting so much value for it. If you want to eke that marginal extra performance and get those features like I said earlier on, then go for the 12 Pro Max. But otherwise, I think that this is a fantastic phone.